about this main event. Obviously, you were kind of frustrated with Shogun when he wouldn't take the Teixeira fight, but then you end up going to.
Well, it's not that I was frustrated. If you look at Shogun, like I said, I mean, we've been saying, and it's true, this guy's one of the greatest fighters of the last decade. I mean, if you look at the guys that he's not only beat but annihilated. He just came off a fight with he just came off knee surgery, fights John Jones, then goes right into a war with Dan Henderson. And when you have a guy like Shogun and you're going out, you know how it is with me, you don't say no to fights. This is the UFC, man. Everybody here is tough. You don't say no to fights. And but I respect Shogun, and he's a guy you give a pass to. So I wasn't aggravated with him, But listen, if I'm going to be honest. People say, well, why are you doing this fight? Well, this is the fight we tried to make and he didn't want it. So everybody knows if you turn down a fight or you do whatever's said behind the scenes, I'm going to tell you the truth and what happened.
Glover actually said that he wouldn't want to fight Glover either.
Right, I'm sure nobody's going to be too excited about it, but we'll see how it goes with Rampage. Interesting fight. Both, really good chins and both hit hard.
What does that mean for Glover? I mean, with nobody wanting to fight him, does that mean he kind of gets a fast track sort of to a #1 contender type of fight since guys are kind of avoiding him?
People are going to have to fight him. You know what I mean? It's you can use the excuse, listen, nobody knows who he is, this and that. After the Rampage fight, if he beats Rampage, it's going to be tough to say that.
How much input are you going to have, with the fans on Saturday night? Obviously, the one that wins the most impressively is the one that gets the title shot out of this. I mean, is that going to be you solely making that call, or are you going to be on Twitter? What do you guys think?
No, I mean, hopefully it's so blatantly obvious that it's not even, or it's a tough choice. That would be the best case scenario. It's tough to pick.
Is there any thought that the winner would fight Alexander Gustafsson, since he is also a top contender in the light heavyweight division?
That the winner would?
Yeah.
No, the winner's getting a title shot.
For sure.
Yeah.
They both said that they're interested in coaching Trump Brazil, and both said that they're interested in the trilogy fight to decide who is the #1 contender fight. So are you still thinking no matter what, one of these guys going to face Jones instead?
Yeah, one of them will fight Jones.
What about Gustafsson? His name is being mentioned a lot this week as, hey, why isn't that guy in the mix?
I like it, good.
Yeah, do you have anything lined up for him yet, and why is he not in consideration?
Yeah, I think he needs a big fight now. He fought the Silva fight, great fight. Now he needs a fight with one of these top guys.
Is there anything for him yet, or are you still kind of waiting to see it shake out?
Yeah, not even thinking about that right now.
Somebody like Vera, obviously you have had your problems with him in the past. The negotiation problems.
No, that's not true. There was never any negotiation problems with Brandon Vera. What happened was him and his management had a falling out, and it turned into a huge lawsuit that put him on the sidelines for a long time. Yeah, it never had anything to do with the UFC.
Yeah, that was kind of the narrative that everybody thought, was that it was a money thing.
No, not even close. We never had any beef with Brandon Vera. When Brandon, I tried to get him on the Ultimate Fighter, and he was like, yeah, fuck that, I'm not doing that show. I'm going to be the light heavyweight champion, and I'm going to move up and be heavyweight. I'm ready to fight now. I don't want to do that show.
Was that the original Ultimate Fighter? Or?
No, I don't remember what season it was, but yeah. But he, and then he got into a huge beef with his management, and it turned into a huge lawsuit. Had nothing to do with me and the UFC.
So why did his career, tank so much? I mean, that night in 2006, it looked like he was the next guy.
And it's weird. It's like as soon as he got into that huge management lawsuit, it's like it was very weird how that whole thing went down.
Big ego.
When he finally he back, he wasn't the same.
He had a big ego though too, right?
Oh,
An
yeah.
overconfident, cocky kid.
Yeah, I don't think he was overconfident. He was talented. Listen, this is a sport that you better be fucking confident. You better be, you know what I mean? Call it cocky if you want to, but I don't know how good I am. I think I'm okay. We'll see how I do on Saturday. I mean, if you were hearing that kind of shit, you might want to go out and get another job. You might not want to be fighting here.
One of the big stories this week is Ed Soros and Anderson basically said we have no interest in fighting Chris Weidman. We don't think he has a big plane. He doesn't really pay his dues in the UFC. Is that a fight that you think Chris needs more seasoning, or do you think that he's ready for Anderson Silva?
Well, I think that's the same stuff they said about Chael Sonnen too. You know what I mean? They weren't going to do that fight either. This is what they do every time a fight's over. They start talking about who they won't fight and who they might fight. Nick Diaz makes no sense, okay? I know that sounds fun. Yeah, throw Nick Diaz in there. If you really look at the thing, Nick Diaz just lost to Condit, You know what I mean? At 170, so that gives him the opportunity to move up to 85 and fight the pound-for-pound best fighter in the world.
Is
In
that
what fucking universe does that make sense?
But you said fans do get excited about it, and you want to put the fights that fans want to see. Is there so I guess there's a limit on that?
George
to some
St.
degree?
Pierre and Anderson Silva are both considered, and most people argue. You know, I think that I think finally, especially with the inactivity from GSP, that people now consider Anderson Silva the pound for pound. But there was an argument there for a long time, and if GSP hadn't been this inactive, maybe it would the debate would still be there. But he's definitely 2 or 3 in the world, depending on who you ask. And if you were really going to make a fight like that, it would make more sense with George St. Pierre than it would with Diaz.
So if he gets by Condit, is that something? I mean, how serious are we? Is this just theoretical talking, or are we serious
It's
about
always
this?
theoretical. You don't know what's going to happen. We'll see what happens in the future here, and maybe that is the fight we're going to make. I can tell you this, not theoretically, Diaz Anderson is not going to happen. That's just ridiculous.
You look at Anderson Silva, he may have limited time left on his career. Do you look from a promoter standpoint, they just want to see him in those fun super fights like maybe Anderson Silva versus JDS? I just want to see what the thing is. Or John Jones.
JDS?
Yeah, why not have him go up to heavyweight?
I just don't, because I don't think he's got the frame for heavyweight. I mean, the guy makes 85 easily. 205? He'll fight at 205, but he chooses not to. He doesn't like to fight at 205 for some reason. He doesn't want to do it.
Do you think the fans would rather see GSP and Anderson or John Jones and Anderson? It seems like more people want John Jones.
I think they want both. I think they'd love to have both.
Why do
And
they
do you
say they
think
won't
he'll-
fight each other? Do you know what the genesis of that is? Why they both say they don't want to fight each other?
Dude, how many times have I been sitting here in front of you guys with a bunch of guys that said they won't fight each other? You're in the fucking fight business. You're gonna fight.
You think you'll stop? You will not make a fight for Anderson until GSP's fight is done, just so you can have the opportunity to have those 2 guys get together.
Maybe.
That's what you're tempted to do.
Maybe. That is, no, that's what we're thinking, yeah. But anything could happen, you know what I mean? He could end up fighting, he could not fight, we'll see what happens. But it's, like he said, it's all theoretical right now. People have to win first. GSP's got to come out and beat Condit. And, because people love Diaz so much, or love to hate Diaz so much, whatever it is, whatever side they're on. Carlos Condit won that fight. And Carlos Condit is no pushover. He's a tough guy. It's going to be a tough fight for George, especially coming off the injury, inactivity, et cetera, et cetera.
Dana, Cesar Gracie said he's meeting with you next week.
True.
Okay. About what?
About Nate Diaz.
Nate Diaz.
Yes.
Why-
Caesar and I are meeting about Nate Diaz.
What about Nate Diaz?
We're re-signing him.
Okay. He also mentioned that he's going to try to convince you to let Nick fight overseas. Are you open to
He
that?
would have a better chance of convincing me, I don't know, to get hair plugs.
Is Nate Diaz still, I guess part of this negotiation or discussion next week will be that he'll fight the winner of next week's title fight? Is that still the plan?
What's that?
Next week, Frankie Edgar, Ben Henderson. Is
Yep.
Nate Diaz still
Yeah.
the guy who's going to fight? Is that part of the...
Yep.
Okay.
So where you have the 4 guys that are out fighting basically for a title shot. Where does Rashad Evans fall?
Rashad? Yeah. I don't know. I personally haven't talked to Rashad. I've heard the talks of him wanting to go to 85 or possibly going to 85. So I don't know. If he did, he'd have to fight somebody. Maybe you do Rashad versus Weidman, and the winner of that gets a shot. You know what I mean? Just came off the top of my head. You know what I mean? So I'm just saying.
When would you like to see Anderson back in action?
I'd love him to fight before the end of the year, but he wants to wait. He wants to fight after the first of the year.
You had a guy kind of ragging on Hector Lombard earlier. You kind of gave him a free pass, it seems like, the other day. Have you talked to Hector at all, or since that fight?
I haven't talked to him, no. I haven't talked to him at all. Who did I give a free pass to?
Well, in Canada, it seemed like you didn't really dog on him as much as maybe you could have, as much as the fans kind of jumped on him.
But you know what? He came in. This happens all the time. When guys are in other organizations, they get ranked way up here, and this guy, and it's the same story when guys first come into the UFC. Whatever it is, if it's the jitters or they freeze or, he didn't fight like he had fought. But you're fighting at a whole different level here, And I think to rag on him would discredit Bosch. I mean, Bosch went in there and fought his ass off. The guy broke his foot, and the fight wasn't the exciting fight. we thought it was going to be, but you know, both those guys came out banged up. I think after the fight, if you saw my video blog, Lombard thought he had a broken nose, but he had like a fractured sternum. You know what I mean? So those guys were banging. You know, they were hitting hard when they were hitting, but yeah, I'm not going to smash Lombard. It's happened to everybody that's coming to the UFC.
What do you think about Rockhold talking about possibly fighting one of the UFC guys, maybe a Jim Roach, even? Since you guys have, made it possible for your career to go into this fight.
I mean, anything's possible. We're not thinking about that, but I wouldn't say no to anything.
Do you have any updates on Junior and Kane when that fight's happening? There's been a lot of talk about it.
No, I don't know. It's happening though.
Yeah, what's the issue? Junior's nursing an injury? Is that the issue, or why is it not known right now?
One of them had some kind of an injury, an elbow or shoulder or something. Nothing major, but something that needed, therapy.
Any chance, Dana, you?
Programmet presenteras av Betsay.com.